And Shinagogo, baby, what's good, guys? Yoku here, and today we're talking about this demon child that people keep sleeping on as if she's another Chi-Chi. Bailu is a new 5-star lightning character introduced into the Abundance Path. She's got purple hair and looks like this wicked Leviathan kid, but somehow she's got an insane expertise in healing medicines, which is probably why they call her the healer lady. And yes, that means the demon child is also what keeps you alive. Now the real question is, where's all that water coming from? Now, breaking down Bailu's kit is actually really straightforward. Bailu's basic attack is a standard lightning damage dealer, but it really shouldn't be with a name like Diagnostic Kick. I mean, that's a couple syllables off from Dynamic Kick, which also just sounds like Dynamic Entry, and I'm pretty positive Bailu is a part of Rock Lee's cult. Her skill, however, Singing Among Clouds, is an interesting one. It heals a single ally for a small percentage of her max HP with a little bit extra added on top. That's not all though. After applying the skill to your selected ally, she'll do it again 2 more times to a random ally. It could be the same ally, it could be the ally next to her, it could be herself, it doesn't really matter. Unfortunately, the amount of outgoing healing will be reduced by a fixed percentage after each time. And no, that doesn't mean after each time you use your skill, it means after each time that particular heal bounces between characters. I'm sure it's just a way to keep her from being super broken and a must pull and like the best healer ever in the game, and they'll never be able to nerf her. Now, if you're looking for an even bigger heal, then you'll want to pay attention to her ultimate. It's a slightly stronger version of her skill, but it heals all allies instead of just one. Not only that, but Bailu also invigorates her allies, which is basically the trigger to her third trace. Invigorated allies will just receive 10% less damage. And that number could change depending on when this game actually releases and gives us that information. At the moment, this does not stack, but it could change in the future. A good way to ensure invigoration is by using her technique before battle, which will invigorate all allies for 1 turn. She also has 2 more traces that help with her incredible healing, one being the ability to overheal an ally above their max HP for 2 turns, and the second being the fact that she can now trigger invigoration 1 extra time. Now, this is the next part where everyone seems to joke about Bailu being Chi-Chi, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel like Bailu is just better. She's got a pretty strong talent that comes with 2 effects. The first effect is that she immediately heals an invigorated ally directly after being hit, with a max of up to 2 times. The second effect of this talent is immediately reviving a knockdown ally for a little under half her HP. Now, this can only be triggered once per battle, but to be fair, you really shouldn't be getting knocked down that much to begin with. Teeny tiny disclaimer the size of Bailu, you might be asking yourself, yo, where are the numbers? Listen, due to some recent information that was provided to me, I won't be going into explicit detail on character numbers because there have been some changes amongst the cast in between the final beta and the official release. Some characters may have higher percentages on their multipliers. Some may have lower percentages on their multipliers, but then make up for it in their kit or trace levels overall. All of that said, this won't change the concepts that I'm talking about, mostly just the numbers. But again, not every character was touched. Out of all the characters I've done, Bailu's Eidolons are also pretty straightforward. I mean, if you can't tell, Bailu is a really straightforward character. Her E1 can be fairly strong. If the target's HP is equal to the max HP when invigoration ends, Bailu receives additional energy to charge her ultimate. E2 is going to extend Bailu's outgoing healing both in the percentage that it heals and the turn count. E4, now this one is actually kind of crazy. Every time a character is healed by Bailu, they'll dish out at least 10% more damage for 2 turns. But here's the thing, this Eidolon stacks up to 3 times. So that's basically minimum 30% more damage for 2 turns just for getting healed. Now, I don't know if you guys play Overwatch, but Bailu's E4 is sounding a lot like Battle Mercy right about now. Lastly is going to be E6, and something you should never need to use. Instead of reviving 1 downed ally, Bailu will be able to res 2. Now, what's that saying the Dark Souls community is always telling their players? I remember earlier when I mentioned that Bailu's outgoing healing was going to be reduced each time it bounced between the characters. Well, there is a way that we can further increase Bailu's healing. What I want to know is, can you guess the answer? Oh my god, wow, that's right, bro. If you said light cones, You are correct. If you said Relics, you are also correct. Whichever one of you said spend more money needs to come talk to me about poor life decisions. Now, I can't help you, but at the very least, I can get you to spend money on me. Bailu's best and only 5-star light cone will be her own. Time waits for no one. I love that name. Not only will this increase her own max HP, but it also increases the healing done to allies. Bailu's signature light cone in particular actually does something that none of the other abundance light cones do. Remember that outgoing healing we talked about her doing? Remember how many instances I said Bailu does it? Now imagine if all that healing somehow turned into, at the bare minimum, 50% of those exact numbers. Now just deal that damage to whatever random enemy just happens to get hit. Yeah, that's exactly what her light cone does. Unfortunately, it is limited to once per turn, but hey, Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap cards, am I right? Your next best option will be any of the 4-star abundance light cones. Warm nights won't last, post-op conversation, and shared feelings are your only options, but any of these can work. The best is subjective to what you want Bailu to focus on. Your last and final option is of course going to be your 3-star cornucopia. This is pretty much just going to increase the amount of healing that Bailu does and call it a day. Next up, we're going to talk about our relics. And if I'm not going to lie to you, this might actually be the shortest relic section I've ever done for any character in all of the existence of my Starro life, which is 2 months. Your only real options are going to be Passerby of Wandering Cloud because it increases outgoing healing by 10%. But more importantly is the fact that it starts you with 1 extra skill point at the beginning of battle. This basically means 1 less basic attack needs to be performed, so that you can keep pumping out skills every single turn. Now, following that is going to be your planar ornament, Fleet of the Ageless. This set increases Bailu's max HP by at least 12%, and once the speed stat of 120 is achieved, Bailu increases all of her allies' attack by a certain percentage. Now, during the beta, it was 8%. This could change during final release, but still, increasing your allies' attack percent by anything above 5 getting towards 10 is amazing. The best part about it is it's not timed. It's not on a 2-turn limit or a 3-turn limit. It just works. It's period. It's forever. It activates. The moment you reach that speed stat, everyone just gets buffed in their attack. And when it comes to team composition for Bailu, it's less about what team makes Bailu excel and more like what does Bailu do for this specific team. One of the key things to differentiate here is that Bailu does not have any aggro application. What this means is that she won't be pulling any notable attacks away from your DPS characters and towards herself. Because of this, it's important to keep in mind that one of your best slots to fill will be a shielder. From there, you can build whatever optimal team is available to you. I will note, however, that it doesn't mean you need to have a shield on the team. It simply means look at what's available or look at the team you're building. If you have a character like Yangxing, for instance, well, he's squishy, and being squishy, he doesn't want to get hit at all. And in fact, getting hit, he loses his empathic swordling passive. So giving him a shield is probably a little bit better than keeping him at max HP. But of course, there's a whole light cone relic thing where he wants to be above a certain amount of HP in order to keep the attack and crit buffs, but that's neither here nor there. This is a Bailu guide. Let's go over some pre-built teams I have that appreciate Bailu the most. Arlen being your main DPS, Bailu being your healer, Bronya being your sub DPS or support, and then Clara being your sub DPS / I'm gonna pull everybody towards me so that I punish the entire team for just trying to touch my friends. This team basically allows Bailu to focus on healing Arlen while Arlen dishes out an insane amount of damage due to his skill not actually taking up a skill point. And because he doesn't take up a skill point, it allows Arlen to use this skill for free and turns Clara into a sub DPS for the team while also punishing the enemy for attacking. Bronya can clean up by using a combination of her skill and ultimate to keep the pressure on. This was easily the team I had the most fun with because it was a constant source of damage all across the board. I guess the only downside to this is that the team has 3 5-stars on it, so let me try another one that's way more free to play friendly. Bailu, any single target DPS, any AoE DPS, and then a support. Now I leave this open because this could fill in a number of roles. You could easily pull a Zila just by getting lucky, and that fills your single target DPS. You could pull a Himiko, and that'll fill your AoE DPS versus not having a single target. So I don't want to say any one character fits this role and you need to shoot for this character. This team is much more open to change. A single target DPS can easily be swapped between Yangxing, Arlen, Dan Heng, Hook, or even Sushan, while your AoE focuses around characters like Serval, once again Himiko, Sampo, and so on. The last slot comes down to what type of playstyle you're aiming for. If you want speed, you go with Asta. If you want more damage and you want to buff Arlen, then you can go with someone like Ting Yun. If you need shields, well, you already know the answer. March 7th is your girl. Finally, thanks to Bailu's passive ability to res one character per battle, it honestly opens up the window for a few more mistakes to be made in the more challenging content coming in the future. And it's an opportunity for more reckless gameplay, i.e. Arlen, because he's just basically Hu Tao. With Bailu's beneficial passives to continuously help keep the units alive, her reviving capabilities, and the added benefit of potentially increasing your allies' offensive stats through the use of her Light Cone and Relic, Bailu makes for an amazing healer that would benefit almost any team in Honkai Star Rail, especially if you're focusing on the Forgotten Hall floors and tackling that content. If you found this Bailu guide helpful and you enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever the case may be. This is the last of my, actually I lie. Alongside this guide, I've also got Yangqing and Welt guides ready to go. And with my partner Moon, we collabed on this whole project. So she's actually gonna have the other characters available for you guys to go look at. Those characters being Japard, Clara, and Himiko. Absolutely go watch those because Himiko's getting a big buff. Link to the entire playlist is right here popping up on the screen and in the description down below. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Smell you later.